Thank you all for coming. I mean, it's a real honor to be sitting here with you to discuss what's cooking in Miami. And what better, we always say that what better to understand what the future than knowing or understanding how we got here. You all have been building for many years what's Miami culinary scene today. Many young chefs have passed through your kitchens and are running today great concepts as well. So we're going to talk about that too, but we're going to focus about the future as well. And I always say or tell this story. I've been living in Miami for 10 years, and I've been very critic of food in general or Miami food scene, sometimes thinking it's shallow or that the concepts have no soul. And then one day, like 6 years ago, Ryan King, who's you know already, as a journalist, he was coming to Miami and he said, "Hey, I'm writing an article about Miami's growing food scene. I'll be there like 3-4 days. Can you like do an agenda, show me around what's going on?" I'm like, what I'm gonna show this guy, like where I'm gonna take him. So I started doing a mental list and an actual list of our itinerary. And at the end I was like, wow, I'm not only completed a very solid list, but I was super proud of the Miami that I was gonna show him. And for me, internally, it was a tipping point of how I appreciated the city, no? And I want to open the panel asking you one question, because the last years, I mean, we had a steady growth, then COVID came, which was, I mean, amazing, maybe 2-3 years for the food industry. Everybody came here, restaurants were like growing, very busy. Then we feel today probably we're like back to pre-COVID days when seasonality is more evident. Some restaurants are doing great, but some are struggling. So understanding the last 10 years of where the food industry has been evolving, and based on your experience, how do you foresee the next, let's say, 5 years from what we learned in the past? And I want to start with Michelle.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lida, for doing this. So, it's been quite a roller coaster. I can only speak, for us, although we do have a lot of friends in the industry and we do talk to a lot of people. And, we just opened 2 restaurants in the last 3 months this year. And, you just don't know. I mean, there's such a huge unknown here, right? People, yes, have been going out. Everybody wanted... I mean, Café La Trova, believe it or not, took us a good solid year, and then we hit COVID, and then we became a soup kitchen, and then finally La Trova hit its stride, right? And everybody loves La Trova, and it's kind of like this simple equation, right? You give everybody this experiential evening, and it's fabulous. Now, we also do music, and we hope great food and drinks, and we give it what... I can't speak for myself because David, obviously, my life partner and my work partner,
who's around there,
who is right there. Yeah. Sorry, honey. And so we do everything together, right? And you think, let's give it our culture, right? And you hope that with our culture and with all the years that we have in this industry and with the music and with the food and with the drinks, that they'll still come.
Yeah.
But sometimes they just don't. So it's a little scary. We're losing some of our best prep cooks because they're immigrants that, maybe didn't have the proper paperwork. Everything has gotten extremely expensive, as all of us in this room know. It is harder to put a finger on the pulse of everything now, I'm finding. Mm-hmm. Social media is still king. We still work as hard as we can to put out a great meal every single time and great everything else, but it doesn't mean people will come. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to figure out always, with every restaurant, with every single month, because in every month it changes, what's going to do it this time? Who can we bring as a special guest? What can we do in the restaurant to still bring people in? How do we stay consistent? And so I'm a little nervous about the next few years, to be honest with you, especially with the roller coaster we're especially on right now. But I really hope that things start to kind of settle a little bit, hopefully in the next couple of years. Hopefully in
next couple of years.
Hopefully hopefully now, but it's not going to because,
it's great to be realistic and say it's not going to be overnight, no?
No, of course not. Yeah. But we always come back. You know, I'm born and raised Miami girl. We always come back. And we come back stronger because we learn more. We come, filled with so much more information and valuable information. So I truly believe, like deep and down in my soul, that we're going to be better after all.
Perfect. Going back to your point about planning and everything, I was talking to Michael Schwartz during the podcast, and he said like how before they would plan and budget yearly, then like bi-yearly, and last year they started like going month by month, which is insane from a business perspective to have to go back to your budget month by month. No, like
it's
how can you plan?
Weekly now.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Jose, what do you think about it?
Honestly, it's like we're used to the ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
And you have to focus on the positive and not get down on that the business sometimes doesn't work. And so you see so many restaurants opening. I've been here 27 years, and the change is insane. Like
you started when you were 10 or what?
46. 46. I've been here 27 years in Miami. But yeah, I got here 19. Potbelly, we've been open for 15 years, and it's about adjusting. We're very used to the slow seasons and the cost of it. But in 5 years, I think Miami is becoming like a Vegas in a sense. When I opened a restaurant in Vegas, I had Emerald Lagasse, Mario Batali, Charlie Trotter all next to me. Now Miami is becoming that, and that means that you have to step up your game a little bit, in a sense of keeping yourself, out there in the trends. But I think that Miami is moving in the right direction. At the same time, it's scary because the more it comes, the more expensive it gets, a little bit in the rents and stuff like that. So honestly, what I'm trying to say is I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. So, but I tell you what I think. Aaron, what do you think?
Well, I moved here, around 10 years ago, 10, 13 years ago. And when I got here, what's happening now or happening recently in regards to the restaurants opening and out of state talent, coming to town and opening concepts was similar to when I moved here. There was a lot of celebrity chefs opening restaurants in Miami or had restaurants in Miami, and I felt that the community wanted community-driven, born concepts and restaurants. And so that was what I was proud to be part of, and proud to be part of now. I would love to see more of a shift in that and more local growth, more people that maybe have from here move away, come back with amazing talent and amazing concepts and bring back into the community what I believe it wants, and that's what I'm proud to be a part of now as well.
Yeah, and sorry.
I want to say one thing to that point because obviously I'm born here, right?
Yeah.
And I want that too. I also feel though, looking at it maybe from the other side of the coin, I think that a lot of these restaurants, these chef-driven, and we're talking about, Spain, New York, California, whatever it is, I think it might bring more people to dine. I truly do. I think there's a lot of people that maybe didn't go out to dine as much, but now because they recognize that, we have the New Yorkers here, we have the Californians here, we have people from all over. I think that, and I'm not saying that I love it all, because it takes people away from our chairs, right? But at the same time, I think it makes people go out more. I do.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look at it basically in a positive spin. And David and I talk about this a lot, right? Like we talk about the fact that, all these restaurants have opened. Look at all these restaurants that Michael White just opened, right? And they're packed. So people want it, and they go out, and maybe if they can't get a reservation with him in the Gables, maybe they'll come to Senora Martinez and eat with us.
Yeah.
So I'll take anything.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. And you.
I'm not a Buddha, but I'll take anything.
Plus, a lot of the local chefs come from these restaurants also and make Miami their home.
Exactly.
So a lot of talent comes from this, and that's what I like about it. As a local chef, I think for me is to make my customer fall in love with me and my cuisine, and that's what I focus on. The rest, just like Miami opened their arms to me, I open their arms to them.
Yeah, but given that mix of all the restaurant inflow and everything, how do we build like an identity? Like, because I feel sometimes Miami doesn't get the respect it deserves from in a national stage. And yeah, people come to Miami, you have amazing restaurants from other cities, and we're starting to see local chefs opening their own concepts with all the challenge that brings. Do you think, looking into the future, are we building like a identity? Even talking about cuisine, like are we building or creating what is like Miamian cuisine or South Floridian cuisine with everything that's going on, the immigration, and all the concepts coming from outside?
Michelle created Miami cuisine. So, oh, come on.
No, I didn't create Miami cuisine.
You're saying Azul was like kind of like.
I am a product of the
Yeah.
city. I didn't make the product. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this city turned me into who I am today. I soaked it all up. But to answer that question, sadly, I think we're a little confused because, let's face it, everybody here needs, for some reason, we have so many Italian restaurants, right? Everybody wants to go out for Italian all the time, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to go out for great
Sushi.
sushi, and I'm one of them. I still need my Chinese on Sundays, but I'm one of the only Jews in the room. That was supposed to be funny, by the way. It's okay, you can laugh at the Jew. So the thing is, though, because we have so many different restaurants, we're getting a little spun around as to who we really are. Is Cuban cuisine Miami? No, there's great Cuban cuisine in New Jersey. There's great Cuban cuisine in a lot of places, right? I feel like it's getting a little diluted, to be honest with you. A little bit.
And as
How could it not?
yeah, but do you think is that a good thing? Because when people come to Miami, like we host a lot of people from outside, and the first thing they ask, "Oh, take me to a good Cuban sandwich." No, that's when Miamian cuisine is. That's how it's perceived. But of course, there's amazing Venezuelan, Cuban, Argentinian. You've been doing Asian, Latin fusion for so many years. You guys are what I call like the new generation of a steakhouse with a Miami feel. So we are building what's Miami's culinary identity today. Maybe it's not as palpable, but it's
It's not as palpable, but you're right. I mean, we're all soaking up. We now have become what we are right here in this city. And I do believe that there is a few of us, but I don't think there's enough of us.
Okay. And talking about that, like I don't know how many restaurants, if we all come to all the restaurants that you've led, how are you making sure that you're passing that philosophy to the new generation?
That's easy.
Yeah, how?
That's easy. We're teaching.
Yeah.
We're mentoring. We're giving them not only our instruction and our recipes and our technique, but also through explaining to them and teaching them through cooking, which is such a very close-knit thing, right? You're rubbing elbows, you're cooking with someone. You're teaching them about a story. You're teaching them about a culture, which to me is everything. To give someone the culture of who and what we are here in South Florida, But I also have to learn their culture to take in my culture, right? So I know how to cook Haitian. I also know how to speak some Haitian. Soy cubanaza cuando quiero ser cubanaza, even though I'm not Cuban. And you become who they are as they become who you are. And through all of that, and everybody should just be a sponge and be able to teach that, right? And infuse that passion and that love. And to try to get them to stay. Get them to leave, but then get them to come back. Give them a home. Sorry, guys, I'm taking over.
Yeah.
You guys
You're talking a lot. You're talking a lot. That's okay. But because I'm so anxious to talk about what you're talking about. You're talking about the culture of Miami food. What the restaurants are, but what is the culture of hospitality? In Miami restaurants, and where is it going? And you guys, I absolutely love. You've been friends for years, and I've been to your restaurants, and every time I go to your restaurants, you treat people in a way that embodies, for me, what I came to learn when I moved to Miami. I'm originally from Australia, but spent some time in Boston, the Northeast, came down here. I was ready to work, get it done, but I didn't take the time, which is what this culture taught me, to welcome someone into your culture, welcome someone into your home. And when I slowed down and took that in, it really taught me a lot about what I appreciate about hospitality, and that is getting to know your guests, treating them like they're in your home. More of that in our restaurants would be so great. And to see someone sit down and in your home and treat them like you're in your home, make them feel special, get to know something about them, make that connection. That to me is what could breed more of a cultural shift in Miami service industry specifically.
Yeah, especially now that a restaurant is more than food, it's hospitality. So how do you train, or how do you pass that philosophy to your front of the house, back of the house?
And also going back to your staff, like what you talked about, getting to know your team, getting to know what they want from their careers, getting to know, what they do at home, where they eat on their weekend, what they cook, what their grandmother cooked, all those things. And then they become part of your menus. Then they become part of your family meal. Then they become part of your culture.
So I say that they're part of your family. You spend more time with them than your own family, But yes, embracing them and guiding them, just like chefs and other people did to you, showing the same love.
Like you had Tim in here yesterday speaking, right? And Tim and I worked together when I was the chef at Azul the Mandarin Oriental. And that was a really long time ago. It's actually where I met David as well. And those relationships, Lindsay Autry worked there, some incredible people. And these are the people that I was really tough to, but I also gave them more of me than I probably gave my own family, and we've always stayed close. And what they've done for me is they've gone on and became their own incredible chefs on their own, leading the way that they want to lead. And for that, what a gift. But as far as what Aaron is saying, as far as hospitality, it's huge to be able to give a piece of who we are as well to the guest that comes in. Yeah. We're a mom and pop. I know that we own a few places, but we work like mom and pop. We are a small group that own a few restaurants, and we give everybody a piece of ourselves when we come in. And I think that it's so essential that they understand that they're the center of our universe when they're there.
Okay. Because if you, you're projecting what you are on all those, all that family that you said. If we draw like a genealogic tree of cooks here, and many, probably 80%, go back to you two, to Michael Schwartz. So basically what you guys are doing today and how you are training your team, how you're passing on your philosophy is going to shape what Miami's food scene is going to be in the next five years.
David taught Allegra Angelo about wine and gave her that passion for wine, and she went on. So I don't think it's just us. I think it's also our managers and our maitre d's and our servers and the people that are in the front as well. They have to carry on. If they keep on going in this industry, they have to carry the torch as well. It's just as important for the front as it is in the back.
Absolutely. You wanted to?
No. I agree with that 100%. I talk to the team. I've always talked to the leaders that I work with, and I say, if you don't know something about like your team, like where they're from, what they get up to on their weekend, what they like, just being part of their interest first and foremost before anything else, before you even ask them to bus a table or run some food or cook a steak, whatever it is, you need to know your team, right? And then that will translate into the restaurant with your guests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair. And looking into the future, because we talked about it many times, like people need to run a restaurant as a business and not as much as a restaurant, especially these days. And when you grow as a restaurateur, as a chef, you end up doing many other things, but cooking, unfortunately. All that experience that you've gained, like what elements from the experience that you've gained are you applying when you're thinking of opening a new restaurant or you're thinking of opening your next concept? Is it more about now the numbers, the business, and maybe less important, like the food that you want to serve? Like, how do you balance those things when you're venturing into a new concept or a new restaurant?
Do you guys want to jump in?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think as passionate, as when we're younger, we're more passionate about the art.
Uh-huh.
As you get older, you think the business has to come first because you want to make it work, and to have a stabilized life and for your family and for yourself. But definitely the art is the most important thing because that's the one that's going to make the business. So it's just you have to have a balance between both. You have to make it work in the business. Number one, it's not going to be anything to sell.
Yeah. And what gets you going in terms of creativity, in terms of business drive, to still look for that next concept, to that next restaurant?
Well, that never dies. I think as also chefs, we just wake up and we want to create. I don't have a problem with that. I don't need any, pushing the back or anything like that. I just love what I do, and I can't keep. I can't keep wait to keep learning more and more and more and more. So I just have to keep creating.
And where do you get that inspiration from?
From everything. It could be from a book. It could be from another chef. A lot of inspiration coming from Instagram nowadays, which is, my wife asked me why I stopped buying so many cookbooks or magazines anymore. I'm like, because I have Instagram. I'm looking at all the best chefs in the world and their creations daily, which is like, for me, it's awesome, because you get a lot of ideas and eating combinations and stuff that you want to create.
Interesting. And yesterday we were talking, gonna change topics a little bit now, because yesterday we were talking about AI, cultivated meat. We're gonna have a talk later today about how tech is affecting the dining experience. And some people think that the more technology we put into a restaurant concept, we're losing a little bit of the soul of that personal connection. Again, looking into the future, how do you see technology affecting the dining experience from the moment people want to find where they want to eat to the moment they need to pay the check? Or can you take the restaurant experience to the virtual world, like Chintan was talking yesterday about virtual reality and how it enhances the food experience?
You want to talk about?
Well, I just discovered KDS recently. The screens where I was a ticket guy. I'm old school, man.
I saw you one night.
and so that's the newest thing, the newest technology I've encountered recently. As for AI, I'm like, this is going to be another level, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited.
How are you using it?
I'm not, but
We're gonna though, right? Sooner or later.
In the kitchen, AI in the kitchen.
well, we have computers, of course, and we've been actually on digital for a while now. But as far as like what other people are doing, I think it's amazing. If I were to do it, it would be a shit show. But I love that other people are taking you on an actual viaje, a trip, and you could just go to so many places while you're eating the food that humans actually are cooking. And I think that if you combine it beautifully, it's so awesome. I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think it's for an everyday thing. And I think it's amazing what's happening and that you could maybe taste even more because you're there. And, let's say you're in a lavender field, right? through AI and you're tasting something that has delicate hints of lavender and they're burning it next to you and you're eating it in the food. I mean, how great is that, right?
What do I buy this program?
I don't know, but I just think it's wonderful. And I think it's incredible, especially, for the generations to come. And I hope that people use it in a really intelligent and respectful way, more than anything. Now, is it for us? Probably not. We're a little bit old school. I'm probably the oldest, I know that I am, the oldest person on the stage. I might not look it, but I am. But honestly, it might not be for me, but if someone brings it and wants to play with it and one of our chefs want to do a little something, I mean, why not? But I do think that when it comes to accounting and data and having people's information at your fingertips and knowing that Mr. Jones is coming in and he happens to love eating duck, but he's allergic to this, this, and this, everything to have at your fingertips makes work a little bit safer and quicker and a little bit easier. It's taken a little bit to adapt, I'm sure, for a lot of us, but I think it's the only way, and it's the way of the future, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I do agree with that. With the with the technology where it is now to improve on like that guest centricity, to know your guest, to understand your guests, who's coming and what their likes are, their dislikes. It was something that I learned a lot from working with Four Seasons for many years, was that knowing who you're dealing with, and the technology that I used in the hotel was not as advanced as what I'm using now, and it is absolutely amazing. But would hate to see, or be disappointed to see it move in a direction where it takes that soul out of creativity and that soul out of cooking, used to enhance ideas, used to enhance creativity, but yeah, not let it take over.
And do you see that drive from the younger generation of chefs that are joining your kitchens, where maybe you tell them, okay, this is how we do things now, and then somebody comes with, no, I just checked on AI and there's a faster way to do a hollandaise or something?
In the kitchen. No, but I have, and actually it's really funny because I was taught in a very, very strict French kitchens, and it's interesting because you never tell a chef that there's a better way, right? Mm-hmm. But nowadays, I have young people saying, well, what if I were to do it like this? And I must have changed, because I used to be un poquito loca, right? Where things were my way. But now it's like, you know what? Make it. If it's better than the way we do it, go for it, by all means.
Okay.
So you have to be open, right? You have to be open to other things. Now, someone's sitting there while they're cooking on their phone, looking at AI. No, they can do it before work.
Okay, and what about the creative process? Do you feel challenged with so many tools now that might make your life easier, but also people, I don't know, Google a recipe or enter a recipe on AI and tells you how to do everything, and maybe that creative process of the chef is diminished because there's so many tools out there?
No, don't you think it can make us more creative?
Yeah, I think so. It's less time. Like, what were you going to do back in the day? You're maybe going to look at a cookbook, or you're going to get information from somewhere, and if it doesn't work, you're going to improve on it yourself, and that's what makes a great creative or a great chef. Or you're going to tweak it to make it your own. So I think it's an awesome.
When I was teaching myself, when I was at the Mandarin Oriental, and this just popped in my head, I was teaching myself how to make foie gras torchon, right?
Okay.
It's not like I could look on my phone to figure out how to make foie gras torchon. There was no Insta that I could look at to come up with that. I didn't have a cookbook at the time at the restaurant to figure out how to do it. So what did I do? Thank God I wasn't my own money. I was buying loaves and I was making it, and a lot of failures and a lot of trial and error. And that's what we used to do. Yeah. Oh my goodness. If I had somebody that was just on there, showing me a masterclass on how to make torchon, and I could only do it once, great. But I probably went through like 10 loaves of foie gras to figure out how to make one foie gras torchon that fed maybe 6 people.
Wow.
So yeah.
And you were talking about how now like Instagram is the new book for you, no?
Yeah. So I find myself using AI for recipes that I don't know how to make. Instead of, like she said, you don't know how to make foie torchon one day, and you go in there and they'll tell you exactly how to do it. At least the guideline for you to have the preparation for it. So I use it all the time. Instagram, I told you more like finding flavor combinations and stuff like that, inspiration. But definitely it's a tool to use in the kitchen when you're trying to find just a recipe that you need on the spot. You know, yeah. And kids, they're always going to come to you, before you. And it's a good idea. Why not try it out?
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to talk a bit about like the alternative to the using these tools to create. Also, it's so important for young sous chefs and cooks and chefs to make that connection also with suppliers and vendors and talking about like not just relying on digital information to create, but also making that human connection as well, not only with your suppliers, vendors, but also your staff and your guests. Yeah.
Okay. Going back to building the Miami food scene into the future, more from a restaurant perspective, from a business perspective, how do you see, like looking forward in 10 years, your legacy of the legacy of your work? How do you think it will be reflected in tomorrow's kitchens, in tomorrow's restaurants? What signs will make you think, okay, I did a good job, or I see myself reflected in this new concept that this young kid opened that worked with me?
It's heavy.
I mean, I don't see myself reflected in concepts. I see myself reflected in the people that I have taught, that I've given them the freedoms and hopefully a little bit of knowledge and a hell of a lot of passion, because that's what my whole life is about, to go off and to do their own concept and to feel the strength within themselves, to come up with something and to just, do wonders with it. And so for me, that's everything. The mentorship, I think, is the most important part for me. I don't think anybody cares about, the way that I cook my lechon or the way that I make a croqueta or anything like that. I think if they learn the techniques and the passion and the drive and all of the lessons that I have learned and the mistakes, but also some of the good stuff, and take all that and do something great with it, that's all I think I would want.
Jose, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I took a risk, when I opened my first restaurant, and it was a time in Miami that there weren't many local restaurants. Michelle was inspiration when she did Michi's, and she took that, a very big risk opening that restaurant. And there weren't restaurants like that. It was Michi's, Michael's, and then, I was coming straight from Vegas, and I was so tired of cooking for 1,000 people and making no connection that I wanted to do that. And in a way, if I want to remember, I just want to remember somebody to inspire other chefs to do the same. And I think it's been a big way for that in the last couple of years, 15 years, of people that have come to me, asked me advice, and I have mentored them and told them, to put their egos aside and do things in a way that, I always tell them, if you don't know how to do it, don't do it. Find a way to making it work, because you only get one chance. And just one example of like people coming to me and asking me, how do I do it, or where do I start? And if I want to remind somebody, just like that, I'll be happy.
Okay. And from those restaurants that we're talking about, where you might see yourself reflected or not, but from people that passed through your kitchen, is there any specific restaurant today, without making any ads or leaving others without mentioning, like, is there any restaurant today in Miami that you feel you had, whether it was through mentorship or through passing out way of work or philosophy, that it's a reflection of what you taught them?
I don't know. That's not a question for me. That's a question for those that are working in those restaurants. I don't know. Maybe they went out and learned it all on their own, after they left me. I don't think I can answer that.
I just got a very short memory, and I just like, and there's a lot
Jose.
of guys out there that work there and that work in my restaurant, and they're out there, but I don't know. I want to single out anybody right now. I don't.
Okay, fair. And before passing the questions to the audience, couple of more questions to close this part of the conversation. Like if you could give, or I'm sure could not, if when you give an advice to a young chef that wants to open a new restaurant in Miami, what would that advice be from the business perspective, from the culinary perspective, from the people management perspective?
So put your knife down, right? Go take a business class. Make some investments, not in a restaurant. Go learn a little bit about psychology and sociology. Learn some languages. Come back, study cooking. Because let me tell you something. If you think, which I did, just being a really great cook or a good cook was enough, think again. Just understanding the business and working a long time in it doesn't mean that you've seen every single part of it. Get dirty. Figure out how to fix an oven. Figure out how to fix a sink. You have to learn everything. You have to know it all. You have to understand it all. And you have to have a huge amount of compassion to be able to successfully run a restaurant.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the time to learn all that, when I got my first opportunity, I was young, but I was realistic of what I could do and what I could not do. And I found partners that filled those gaps, and we were all complement each other. But that was just my example. Like, just be realistic because you only get one chance, and you better make it because you're gonna get in a hole for the rest of your life.
Do you think in today's restaurant scene you only get one chance?
No. Well, if you invest yourself in it, if you don't have much money and you invest yourself, you can get in a little trouble. But you don't get much chance. You're always gonna have fun.
Nice, Aaron.
Just
what-
people first, your team first and foremost. That's what I would say. I'm like you. Like if you're great enough as a cook to open a restaurant, and you can cook bloody good food. It doesn't matter if that's all you put on the plate. If you don't make your people first and your team, then your food's not going to matter.
And in your case specifically, I don't know how many employees altogether you have with all your concepts. I know you have in Sonny's today, you have over 100 employees between front of the house, back of the house. It's easy and it's nice to say, oh, I'm gonna pass that philosophy and everything. But with such a big group of people who look after you, like see you as a role model, how do you manage to pass that philosophy?
I think you've just got to lead by example. The minute as a leader, the minute you walk in the door, you're on stage. You're on stage for your team. You have to lead by example, lead by, with like positive energy, even when you're in the thick of it, and it could be really, really brutal, or that error gets made that just could drive you mental. Like you're a human being, you may show frustration, but that's how I look at it every day. Is that you're on stage and your team is your audience, and they're looking at you, and how are you going to portray how you want to lead and run the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Interesting. And building those restaurants and going back to the topic of how Miami is perceived as a culinary scene in not only the U.S., internationally, we travel a lot, and whether we are, I don't know, in London or Italy or South America, everybody looks at Miami like the place to be probably in the world, and I think we've done a great job advertising ourselves. But how do restaurants add to Miami's cultural narrative in terms of what the city has to offer? Because definitely we've evolved from a city where people came to party, to go to the beach, to shop, to now, thank God and thank you to many of you guys, there's a strong culinary scene, there's local concepts. How do you think restaurant add to that cultural narrative of Miami positioning as a city, as a destination globally?
I think you just answered your own question, honestly, by showing our culture, by not being afraid of it. You know, it's funny, I used to kind of hide a little bit of who I was, and I would, you know, go towards what my mentors were doing, right? And then, you know, being here back home longer and longer, it was like, you know what? I'm going to show everything. I'm going to go for broke and show exactly who we are culturally, who I am culturally, correct? Show off the side of Miami that I am, that I grew up in, that I grew up as. And I think that a lot of us are not afraid to really show who we are in our cuisines and in our restaurants and the way that we serve, and, you know, we play our music and, you know, some of us hang up our aprons and go dance with our husbands in the middle of the restaurant. You know, you just show who you are, and you with abandon, right? You just go for broke and you say, you know what? Si me quieres, y si no, no. And you just, you know, they either accept you or they don't. But you have to be a little brave, you know, and you have to show your bare side, right, a little bit, and just go for it. And I think that, you know, that's how we give our people here the opportunities of showing who they are in our kitchens, and it reflecting a little bit in what we've become in our foods and our chefs and so on. So just
show who we
are.
are.
And I think that here in Miami, we're not afraid of that. And I think in other cities they might be, but here we're not.
Sometimes we show too much, I think. Jose.
So, you know, like, I mean, she said pretty much everything, but, you know, I'm Puerto Rican, right? So I bring the same hospitality that I bring from over there here, and you show people the hospitality, and that's promoting your city and giving yourself to them and putting it out there, like you said. That's the way I only know how to do it.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Anything to add?
Of just authenticity. You know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
You're going to probably hate me because this is not an easy exercise, or maybe it is. 2030. We're in 2030, 5 years from now. How do you describe Miami's food scene? You got it easier because you're going to answer last, so you have more time to think.
You should go first. Have
Yeah,
go first.
you go first, Aaron.
2030.
2030, how's Miami's food scene?
I think it's going to be more. I think it's still going to be as eclectic and vibrant and so much going on. It continues to grow and be a growing community, a growing restaurant community. But I think it will be more deep rooted in what the culture is, or at least that's what I would like to see.
I mean, there's going to be a little bit for everybody, right? You're always going to have the show restaurants. You're going to have a lot more talent coming up in terms of serious cuisine and local cuisine. And you're going to have more, obviously a lot more to choose from, but definitely seeing what I'm seeing right now, and the chefs that are cooking in Miami right now, and seeing the talent that's going to come from that, is definitely going to be a lot more serious. And it's serious right now, but it's going to become, you know, one of the capitals of cuisine in the United States or even in the world.
Amazing.
I'm going to tell you what I hope that I see.
Okay.
Certain restaurants are so exciting to me. People are becoming a little more brave. So when Tam Tam opened, I was so excited because I grew up with Hai Vong, which was one of my favorite restaurants, Vietnamese restaurants, right?
It was in Calle Ocho, but
Calle Ocho,
yeah.
pero hace mucho. So the thing is, right, we have always been great in Latin cuisine. We already know that. Certain Latin cuisines, not all of them.
True.
We've been good in sushi, we've been good in certain Asian touches, but we've been desperately lacking in certain cuisines. Like, we don't have a huge African cuisine here. Well, finally, we have Turkish, Moroccan, but I'm talking,
Yeah.
you know, Nigerian. we don't have a huge amount of Vietnamese and a huge amount of Thai, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cuisines I feel like we're missing, but I feel like some younger people who are either have grown up here or who are coming here are starting to take chances. And I'm really excited about that. And I hope we see more of it. I was just in Minnesota where I had one of the best Hmong pastries of my life.
Ooh.
And I can't wait for somebody like that to open here in South Florida. And I know it's coming. I know it is, and I'm excited about it.
Amazing. I'm gonna ask you that because I'm going to Minnesota next month. So, yeah, but we always talk about how, especially for Asian, like I drive 50 minutes to go to 1010 seafood and dumpling.
Gabose for
Gabose for Korean. So yeah, I'm with you on that vision. And even like Latin cuisine is evolving. Like the bar is higher and higher. Which okay, are you gonna open a new arepa place? I mean, you don't start from zero. You have to start from above. Yeah, great. We have some 20 minutes left, and I know you guys have so much to share. So I want to open the conversation to the audience. And one thing is, if you guys want to share your vision of how do you see Miami in 2030, but also feel free to ask Michelle, Jose, and Aaron any questions regarding what's cooking in Miami. We have a couple there.
Food question. Oh, sorry. I had a food question. So we haven't talked a lot about food. What was the best dish at a restaurant you've had recently? And Michelle, I'll have a follow-up for you. When are we going to get fried chicken again? Like in Mishi's?
Me first? Jeez. The one my wife cooked. She's here somewhere. So, no. What was the best meal I had recently? Well, we cooked a fantastic dinner last night with the Manteca team.
Yeah, there are
fellas here,
over there.
If they're here. But the food that they made was absolutely amazing. What they brought in and cooked was great. Locally, I would say Tam Tam is pretty awesome. You know, super bright, eclectic flavors that just like, you know, it's just excitement eating that food. That's the way I feel about that. Yeah, and I love Southeast Asian food, and I don't get enough of it here. So yeah, more restaurants. Yeah.
And as far as fried chicken, we're actually thinking about bringing a fried chicken night to Senora Martinez. Thank
Great.
you.
Jose?
I mean, actually, what's the ravioli? Sonny's the ravioli with corn and crab.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
That's
Very nice.
that's like a signature dish. Every time we're there, like,
I ate a bowl there.
yeah. And you, Michelle, anything that you've tried out there that it marked you or you remember now?
I mean, it's funny, you know, we eat so much at home. When you have a child, a 13-year-old who's really just wants to be on a computer and at home, it's really hard to get out. However, I have to say, I mean, let's see, like something that really rocked my world. I mean, obviously, Sunny's steak was probably the last time we went out to dinner, and it was unbelievable. I mean, there's so much good food, right? I have to be honest with you, though, like a really good frijoles negros con un arroz blanco is so satisfying for me.
Even from Palacio de los Jugos.
Especially from Palacio de los Jugos with a little chicharrón on the
Oh,
side.
yeah.
It's just, you know, I love soul food, you know, and that's really what also just always makes me the happiest. It's just really good soul food. Yeah.
I'm going to take the word I always, talking about Timon yesterday. Every time I see him, it's like, dude, when are you doing again those chili crab noodles you used to do at Balu? It was insane. I love that dish. We have somebody else there. Yeah.
More like philosophical. It's mostly for Michelle. I was gonna say, so you mentioned when you're talking about the foie gras, how you had wished that there was this resource like AI, right? That could have told you, I really wish that it could have helped me, so I hadn't made that mistake. And as somebody who's very young in the industry, I would say, do you think that there's value in the failure of that? Do you think that you learned more in, you know, do you think you learned more in what you lost than what you could have gotten the first time and not had realized, hey, I learned a new technique from having to try this out. I learned that I could have tried something new. You know, this brought out a new horizon in me rather than just having the answers kind of told to me.
I love you, first of all, for asking. Thank you for asking that question. What's funny is I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. I have learned so much more from all of my mistakes, and I've made so many. Probably more mistakes than good things, right? But in that moment, yes, you're right. Not only did I learn how to make it better and to teach it better, because I learned what to teach people not to do, right? And then I learned how to flavor it better. I mean, just in that moment, you're right. I would have liked to have learned it maybe 2 hours less time it took me. However, you were so right. In so many of the things that we do incorrectly, we find a better way within ourselves to make it better. And not only are you making a product better, but what you're doing to yourself inside. Like, I have come from a really hard place. You all have to understand, when I started to cook, there were no women, not one. There was a woman in pastry. And I have been verbally, physically attacked. I was treated terribly, and I was told by 3 different chefs of mine growing up that I will be paid about 50% to 40% less than any man. It was great for me. It made me who I am today. I was very soft and I was very tender. I hope, David, I'm still kind of tender, but I'm strong, right? I'm strong and I can get through anything. And moments like that you're asking about, the mistakes that I have made, have turned me into not only a strong person, but I know who I am. I have a belief in myself, and I know that I can do almost anything.
Great.
So thank you
No.
for that.
Anyone there?
Hello, this is a question for all 3 chefs. I'm a big fan of all of you. You've been in Miami for a long time. So I want to ask about, we know that Miami is a challenging place for fresh produce. And I want to ask you, what are the main challenges you found with the procurement of fresh produce, and what would you like to see from the industry to help you execute better in your restaurants? Produce. Fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, we've been here a long time, and we've seen that a lot of new farm has grown. Like, there's a lot of options now and there's a lot of people out there making it happen, which, like, they're doing amazing work. You're not gonna get everything that you need, but there's definitely a lot available for you, especially grown here. And obviously, we have to take advantage of all the amazing fruit and vegetables that only grow here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's grown a lot since I've been here. You know, especially with farmers and farmers connecting with chefs. You know, the supply sometimes is limited or can be spotty. You know, but that's what part of being a chef is. You know, if you can't adjust to that, then you know you're
Can't predict the weather.
you can't predict the weather. That's right. So you know, but I think overall it's you know, again, it goes back to like building rapport with your vendors, your farmers, your suppliers. You know, and getting to know them and having open dialogue. You know, and treating them with respect. You know, I have worked with some chefs. I've been around some chefs where you know I know we're the customer, but also it's a mutual relationship. You know, and you've got to have that with them. Yeah.
I mean, if we could fix one thing, it would be, estoy hablando en tu micrófono, gracias. I would say it would be trying to find a greater ease of getting the products to the restaurants. Because there are products, and sometimes it's really hard for the farmers to get the products to us. So I would say the ease in getting that to us would probably be the greatest gift, right, to them and to all of us.
But have you experienced a shift based on that mutual relationship that you mentioned of what was available 5 or 10 years ago?
100-fold.
Yeah. I mean,
There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. And now it's a bounty. It's incredible to see.
great.
It really is.
Great.
Hey guys, if there was a mental health or wellness resource or space for the cooks community in Miami, what do you think it will be? It will be great to have as a support for your cooks, for your yeah, for the people that work in your restaurants?
Well, I don't know if there's one or not, but it's definitely needed. Right? Mental health.
Like support for mental health and wellness.
100%. I don't know if there's one available, but it's definitely something that we have to take very serious and it's needed for sure. That's a good question.
I think, and actually, spoiler, but the next session by Ryan, he's gonna go deep on that subject. So thanks for bringing it up. Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, thank you very much. I'm a big fan of Michelle since she was in Azul. But you all talk about the challenges in the industry, like people going away. But I have talked to many restaurateurs that want to open more restaurants. And right now, one of the things that they are more concerned is the occupancy cost in many of the spaces available to open restaurants. What is your view? What's going to happen with that? Is that going to keep going up like crazy, or there's going to be, you think it's going to be a rebalance in there?
If people keep paying for it, it's going to keep going up. I had something to say. I mean, I think that there's a lot of, when the investors put $1 million and they get the visa, right? And then they come and invest mostly in restaurants. And now we got the incentive,
Yeah.
the gold card now. It's gonna be so. And a lot of these businesses are restaurants. Well, how about incentive for the local chefs that are operating for 5 years, and maybe some of those prices cannot raise because if people keep paying them, they're gonna keep going up. That's what I think.
And can you put, as an industry, as a group, how can you push back? Okay.
Yeah, you gotta stop paying them.
Perfect.
We're not gonna make a union.
Yeah. All right. I think we have two more, 1 and 2.
Thank you, chefs. My question is regarding, everyone knows that hospitality, particularly the food industry, is super challenging, ruthless. So for a non-cook, for a non-chef, would you have any advice for somebody who's planning on going into the industry? And I know the answer might be don't do it, but apart from that, that's what I heard from a lot of people. But if you have any feedback, what would it be?
I would say it's like I haven't worked other jobs, but it has been extremely rewarding for me. It's taken me all over the world. I have met amazing people. I have eaten some phenomenal food. I wouldn't have done anything else, and it's. I would say go for it. I found it extremely rewarding.
I wouldn't. I've had quite the life. I love what I do. You get to meet all these good people, cook. Travel. But yes, it's not easy to learn. You gotta put your head down and shut up, like I did for many years. And at the end, it's a big reward.
I think we've created a beautiful life where we see food in so many different ways, and we get to travel, and we get to taste, and we get to meet the most amazing people like all of you. And I think it's just a beautiful life. The hardest part for me was when I became a mom and had to share this other life, right, with a child that needs a lot of attention. And for me, that was the hardest part. So it's still incredible because now he's in our world, and he thinks he can cook and tells me how to cook more than I know myself, of course, at this point, at 13. But I think it's a beautiful thing. And if you can carry more than about 50 pounds in each hand, you can come and work with us because we're looking for great people.
Miami is a very seasonal city where it gets a lot quieter in the summertime. How do you currently manage those summer lulls as a restaurant owner? What would you like to see happen across the city, community-wise, within the hospitality industry with restaurants? And what do you think needs to change to kind of bring more people into the city?
We always gonna be a seasonal city. I think us local chefs have the advantage of being here so long that we know how to adjust our costs when these months are coming. Compared to other people coming from out of town that they learn as they operate. You do as much as you can as pop-ups. events, and Miami is doing everything they can to bring in festivals and swim week and that week and the other week and
Conferences.
but the only thing is that people are not going to plan their vacation around a hurricane season or a rain season and that's never going to happen. A lot of people leave, and that's the reality of it. You're not going to have the same business you have here as a winter. It's just the way it is. Michelle can say.
Thanks. We're not going to change the snowbirds, right? We're not going to get people to all of a sudden say, no, we're a great place, come.
You did for 3 years during COVID.
During COVID, we did.
Yeah.
We did, but they went back.
Yeah.
So honestly, we just have to bear down. We have to get a little more creative, more conferences, more events, bring people from other cities and other countries, into our restaurants is what we're hoping will definitely help. Bar programs, anything we can to get people interested. I even offered, let's do cooking classes. Let's do whatever it is that we can. We just bear down. We do the most we possibly can, and we just get better for when people come back. That's all we can do.
Perfect. Bueno. Okay. One last question.
A lot. It's about, I'm doing restaurants and I'm also guilty of this, but it's about tipping. What is the future of tipping? The tip. The tip. It's something that Miami has the tip include, and it's something that is part of our DNA because we are not why, Danny Meyers tried to change that a few years ago, trying to, include the tip on the salaries and don't allow people to tip on the restaurants. That changed through COVID and he couldn't handle it because it's something that is important in our business. But I struggle on this because the tipping from front of the house is different at back of the house, and now new technology that you go to a brickle, and you have sometimes a great service, but sometimes not. You have a 20% in there and they force you to that 3, 7 or 5% that is extra now, what is your vision on that and where you feel like we are heading as an industry, with that tipping situation?
You have to understand a lot of places that force you to tip are doing it because the majority of the people that come to their restaurants are tourists. It's not meant for locals. So that's how they're going to make their money. And, this goes for me, and I know we don't have time, but this goes so much deeper. We talk about this conversation a lot in our home, how, the restaurant business as a whole is kind of broken. If you think about it, how many cooks and chefs can you say have a great retirement plan? How many of us really, can stop what we're doing, let's just say, if we get hurt, God forbid, or we just want to, we're at the end of our career, and actually live nice lives, right? It's not made for that. It's just not very conducive. So, this is a much larger conversation. I'm sorry to jump into this, but we have to change certain things about the restaurants, and people always look to us, the owners, as to, well, you need to start, retirement plans and all these plans for these people. Well, we're not making it either. We don't have the funding to do that. So I just think that a lot has to change. It's a greater conversation that a lot of us need to figure out how we're going to move forward and be more successful. And it also leads to, whether it's mental health, physical health as well, that not a lot of people are talking about, because let's face it, we are not the healthiest people in the world, right? We don't eat well, we don't take care of ourselves. So it's a much larger conversation. I think that it's one that we need to open up about more. A lot of us in restaurants, we think we know what we're doing, but the truth is, do we all really know what we're doing? We know how to give people an amazing time and make people feel good for the time that we have them. But what about us, right?
Yeah.
What happens to us? So
Yeah.
everybody, 100%, 100%.
Amazing.
So understand it's something we think about a lot and we don't have an answer to today, but I think that we should all try to work together to find at least some answers.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything to add? No. Well, thanks a lot, Michelle, Jose, and Aaron.